Welcome back to Motakamel Financial Track. In this lecture, we will continue the rest of the setup and configuration for General Ledger. We had finished the first tab, which was General, and now we will move on to Transaction Options. It starts with the setup for Journal Voucher, followed by Voucher settings, receipts and payments, then Saver Day settings, receipts and payments as well. Let's go ahead and start with Journal Voucher. The first variable we have here is View Customer Name, and when you activate it, the system adds a column in the Journal Voucher screen to show the customer's name based on the account that you've linked the customer to from the customer data screen in System Admin. As for the second variable here, it's going to be View Vendor Name, and this one adds a column in the Journal Voucher screen as well, in which you will see the vendor's name. That will also be based on the account the vendor is linked to from the vendor detail screen in System Admin. Show Cost Center Names is a variable that adds a column in the detailed data in the Journal Voucher screen so that the user can add a cost center for each account in the transaction. The variable Use Journal Number in Details allows the user to transfer debit or credit notes to Journal Voucher. And if you activate this variable, the system will add a new variable, which is Create New Record from Pre-Entered Notice in the Journal Voucher screen, as well as some columns in the detailed data in the Journal Voucher screen, which shows the type and the number of the note. Next, you have the variable Use Reference Number in Voucher for each account level. And when you activate this one, a column is added in the transactions so that you can enter and save the reference number next to each account that is involved in the transaction. The variable deal with check number and due date in Journal Voucher. This one adds two new fields in Journal Voucher screen when you activate it, and these fields are for entering the check number and the due date as well. We'll move on to the second part, which is related to voucher settings, receipts, and payments. First of all, we have the variable View Customer Name, and this one adds a column in the screen, receipts and payments, vouchers, and it will show basically the name of the customer based on the account that you've linked the customer to in the customer data screen in System Admin. And the variable View Vendor Name adds a column in the screen, in two screens actually, receipts and payments voucher for the vendor's name based on the account that you've linked the vendor to in the screen vendor details as well in System Admin. As for the variable Cost Center Names, if you activate this one, it will add a column in the detailed data in the screen's receipts and payments vouchers so that you can enter a cost center for the accounts that are in the transaction that you're working with. Then we have Use Suspended Voucher option cannot be posted. When you activate this variable, the system adds the variable Suspended Voucher in the screen's receipt and payments voucher. If you use this added variable, then you can suspend the transaction, so you're basically putting the transaction on hold, which means that you cannot post it, you can only save it even if it's unbalanced, and you will not have the option to post these transactions unless you fix and balance them out. Moving on to the next variable, use and import Saver Day data to Voucher. This variable is only active and available to use if the variable Use Saver Day payments and receipts in System has been activated, and that's in the first tab, General Options. Actually, we went through that in the previous lecture if you need to go back and check that out. The variable Use and Import Saver Day data to Voucher is used in importing Saver Day receipts and payments to receipts and payments vouchers. When you activate this variable, a new field is added, and that is Install From, which will be added in the screen's payments and receipts vouchers, and it allows the users to choose the way that they're wrapping up the transaction, either manually or if it's going to be from Saver Day or Saver. Alright, so now there's the variable use reference number in voucher for each account level. When you activate this variable, the system adds a column in the transactions so that you can add the reference number for each account in the transaction. The variable use collection voucher / payment vouchers for account level. So when you activate this one, it adds a column to the detailed data where you can enter the receipt or payment voucher to each account in the transaction. Moving on to the third part, which is saver day settings, receipts or payments. First, you have the variables related to setup operation, and those are two, multi-cash or bank in saver day, or basically the second variable is single cash or bank and saver day. These variables are activated to determine the way that's dealt with the banks or safes in the receipts or payments saver day. The system allows you to use one of the available alternatives. If the user would like to select a single safe or bank for each saver, they can go ahead and select the variable single cash or bank and saver day. If this option is selected, the user can select the safe or bank at the level of the saver once, and consequently all of the accounts involved in that transaction will affect that bank account or safe. But if the user wants to select the bank account or safe separately for each account in the transaction, then you can go ahead and activate the second variable, which is multi-cash or bank in saver day. And for the record, you cannot edit these choices after you've used receipts or payments saver day. Next, you have the variables related to setting up the collection process. These variables are going to be multi-collector in saver day and single collector in saver day. These options are for dealing with the collectors in receipts and payments saver day. If you'd like to assign a single collector for each receipt and payment saver day, then you can activate the variable single collector in saver day. And if you select this option, the system will let you select the collector at the level of the transaction once, and then all of the accounts used in that transaction will affect this collector. However, if you'd like to assign a collector at the level of each account separately, using that transaction of course, then you can go ahead with multi-collector in saver day. And also, the previous note applies here too. You cannot change this after using receipts or payments saver day in the transactions. Alright, so now we'll move on to the general variables in receipts and payments saver day. The two variables, view customer name and view vendor name, we went through that before. They work the same way, but the only difference is that it's going to reflect on your saver day. This also applies to the variables use voucher number in details and use reference number in details. This leaves the variable show received name in saver day, and this is used if the facility wants to display the name of the recipient at the level of each account in the saver day payment screen. So if you activate this variable, the system will add a column in the saver day payment screen to so that basically you can enter the name of the recipient for each account. This brings us to the end of today's lecture. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe and also follow our pages on Facebook and Instagram.